Welcome to the Hibbing Economic Development Authority regular meeting agenda. Today is November 18th, 2024, 5 p.m. Attendance tonight, we have everyone in attendance with the exception of member John Schweiberger, member Hoffman-Sokoman, and member Egan, but we do have a quorum. So I would like to call the meeting to order. Additions, deletions. We will be deleting the approval of the minutes for tonight as they are not ready as of now. So the approval of the agenda, can we get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
Support.
supported by Vice President Drainus. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On to the consent agenda. Number 1, affirm the Economic Development Loan Fund as of October 31st, 2024 in the amount of $1,122,196.33. Number 2, approve the disbursements for the month of July in the amount of $246,081.19. Number 3, set the next regular meeting of Heda for Monday, December 16th, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the Hibbing City Hall Council Chamber. And number 4, set the next Heda working session for Monday, December 16th, 2024, following the regular meeting in the Hibbing City Hall Council Chamber. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Madam President, sorry to interrupt. I think it should be disbursements. I realize it says July, it should be October. On number 2.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
My apologies.
So it's going to go from July to October.
That's good.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the corrected consent agenda? We had a motion by, motion made by member Kivala,
I'll second that motion with the adjustment.
second by Mayor Hyduk. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to the presentations. Betsy.
Excellent. Madam President, members of the EDA. Tonight, the first presentation is the AMGS Expansion Project Update by Todd Erickson from Kraus Anderson. He is the project manager for this, this one here. Are we up? There we go. Perfect. Thanks, Todd.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right, so our update for today, the 18th of November, we're going to look at, as always, we look at safety, our schedule, our progress, and then kind of budget status. Kind of let you know where we're at with money. Safety, kind of my agenda items are similar to last time. The only change we've got today is we did meet with OSHA on site. It's something that Kraus Anderson does on all of our projects that we can. We bring out what's called OSHA consultation. They sit down with us and all of our trade partners on site, and then we go out and we walk. We look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, what we can do better. So the end of today, we found out we were doing things just as we should be, no issues, and scheduling the next meeting. So to date, there has been no recordables, no lost time, nothing, no accidents on the job. So it's going well. Our schedule, still noting that we don't have a permit out there from the city, so we're doing our best. We're getting incremental approvals to keep moving. And we do have an approval to start erecting the building, which is what we started today. So far what we've done, the site work, a lot of work, the site clearing, grading, underground gas, underground water, underground sewer, and we've put in conduit to eventually pull in permanent power. It's all complete. We did excavation for footings. All the concrete footings have been poured. All the waterproofing on the footings has been installed, and they're all backfilled. Exterior concrete, we were able to get the loading dock concrete paved, and the large pads for the mechanical, for the electrical transformers, all that kind of stuff. That's all been poured. All the exterior light pole bases. So what's remaining on exterior concrete is some sidewalks and curb and gutter, and we can't get that in quite yet. So that'll happen in the spring. Steel erection did start, so. In your packet, there's a printed schedule. What I've got on the screen is difficult to read, but just looking at the colors that are up there, blues are where we're at with progress. The red, that's not a bad thing. That's just the scheduling software that shows me where our critical path is from start to finish for the project. When I did this project update, we were on schedule. So our plan is now to, like we started going steel in the air today, and our plan is to erect steel through about January 6th. Mid-January, we will put in temporary enclosures and we'll heat the building, and that's when we'll go inside and start underground mechanical. So we're right on plan, right on track with our original plan. Some photos. This is a picture of the site last week. Got up as high as we could, walking on dirt banks. I just mentioned the loading docks. So this is the concrete getting poured late last week, where the trucks will back in to deliver materials and ship product. This is PEMB, or the pre-engineered metal building erection. What you see there, those photos, is they do their assembly on the ground, everything that they can possibly do on the ground, and then their crane will lift those assemblies into the air. It makes it a lot safer environment for the workers. So, next item was permits. As I noted, everything that we've got from the city has been verbals. We had site clearing, concrete foundations, water service, and underground sanitary. Today we got the email approval to go ahead with the pre-engineered metal building into the air portion. But we do have the permits from the state, the DOLE, that's Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry, so that we do have that piece. So just waiting on the city permit. As far as project completion, we are 22% complete. So that was again at the 31st of October, as will be reflected in the invoice that you'll see. You notice there in the bottom left corner, the budget has changed slightly. I'll be able to show you that on the next slide. We put in contingencies. Up front, we agreed that the contractor would have a contingency and some scope gap coverage for items that we knew that we needed but didn't have pricing on. And we also put in a contingency for, we call it owner contingency and design contingency. In this case, it's Heda. So the original budget for that was $549,000, and we've spent just over $71,000 of that. What the monies are that we spent, we found a large concrete storm sewer that was abandoned under the building, went right through the middle of the building, all the way. So we had to remove that. So we removed and backfilled that with quality soil. And then the other item that was charged to that owner contingency was the Hibbing Public Utilities requested or required that their power go into conduit underground rather than just be directly buried. So those are the two items that were charged to that. Our items that are charged there are as expected. The largest portion of that being the overhead crane that we didn't have compliant bids on at bid time. So we've negotiated that, and everything's on order. So, any questions on our schedule, on our budget, on anything we've got going on? Anything you've seen, anything you've heard?
I'd just like to ask, is John right? Did you approve the contingencies then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, I've been in the loop on the two contingencies that we've done. Yes, we've been, Betsy and I have been working with Todd through the contingencies.
Okay, thank you.
So, Member Kivila, everything goes through John first. He looks at it to make sure that engineering-wise and construction-wise it all makes sense. And then he sends it to me saying that this is approved, and then we approve the change orders as they come through. And then you will see this in your budget updates every month, what's been spent, what needs to, change, et cetera, so, yep. Does that seem to be suiting your purposes, seeing it like this?
Yeah, no, it was fine.
Okay, perfect, excellent, because as we go along, we can,
Yeah.
tweak things if needed.
I can give more detail. I kind of put this at an executive level, but I can give you details of anything you request.
I guess, I mean, your presentation is plenty lengthy and maybe extra in-depth even. It'd just be nice to have a nice, I know a couple months ago I asked for a nice white copy of the blueprint sitting here so we can all peek at it. Because it's kind of hard to see when you put something up front, so it'd be nice to have a copy of that here.
Got it.
'Cause we could break, it'd be a lot easier just to look at that if somebody has any questions.
Sounds good. I will, would you like blueprints for the drawing, like the architectural drawings that we could look at?
Yeah, just so if anybody has any questions,
Yep,
you've got something that people can actually see rather than trying to look at the plan up on the screen or something, so.
that sounds good. I will bring those.
Okay.
John has helped me out the last 2 meetings, as you know, because I was on vacation both times. So I don't take much time off, and somehow we hit those 2 meetings. But
Okay.
I'll be here from here on out. I will bring paper drawings. What I'll actually do is I'll print those and I'll get those here before the next meeting. So
I don't think you need every detail on there, of course, just, maybe some floor plans and,
I'll bring architectural. There's not that
yeah,
many
bring the
pages.
architectural plan, it's probably not that
that's
much.
fine.
Yep, that's what I'll bring for now. So
Okay,
that'll give
thank
you a
you.
lot of, so.
And then, Member Kivila, and the rest of the board, John and I have been working with Pat today. There was a list of 4 items, 2 of which Widseth had gotten knowledge of on October 24th. They've sent us back an email saying that they will have those handled. And then there were 2 electrical items which we learned of today. So those have been sent over to BAR, and they will be handling those as well. Hopefully, those are the remaining 4 items, and from there, then Todd will have a full building permit. So those were the remaining 4 items that we know of that were outstanding.
I guess the only other comment I'd have is, I mean, the week-to-week schedule you develop for your own internal things is fine, everything's set, you have to follow something, of course. We're just concerned about the end date.
Yep.
Because we do have kind of stepping stones with people moving into a building and moving out of a building. So if that needs to change, I know there's no money damages on this, but if that needs to change, we need to know as soon as possible. So,
You will.
yeah.
What I'll do when I print those drawings is I'll bring you a large copy of that, like we have it on our trailer. And
Sure.
It's 3 feet by 4 feet printed
Yeah.
out. It's as large as the drawing, so you can see way more detail than you want. But the last item at the bottom is the completion date, so
Sure.
you'll be able to
Okay.
see what you're looking for.
It's looking good. It was good to see metal going up today. I drove by and nice to see.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Excellent. Madam President, my next agenda item then is a presentation on the Jefferson School. It's the full report that New History has put together, and they are on Zoom, so we're going to switch over to them coming in virtually here. There we go. That's Katie and Kirk. Kirk was here in person at our last EDA meeting and went through the draft report. So they're just going to call attention to some of the highlights of the rest of the details that were left to be finished between the October and November meeting. So I will turn it over here to Katie and Kirk at this point.
Thanks, Betsy.
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay?
we can.
Great. Thank you, Madam President, members of the EDA. So today we're going to just skim through. I understand that you have copies of this, so not going to try to read it on the screen. But I want to call to your attention kind of our finalized details since last time. So we kind of gave you a report as things were going, as things were developing, and kind of some prelim results. I want to show you just a couple highlights in the report itself. So as you know, we looked at reuse feasibility, mostly focused on housing, although we did have a little discussion last time. It's not exclusive to that, but that's what our study focused on. So we have a very detailed table of contents. You can find your way in that. I'm just going to jump to a couple spots here to highlight. And this might be a little bit redundant, but just repeating that the overall building is in sound condition. We do know there's water evident, water coming in, water damage, mostly from the roofing. It does not appear to be a good candidate for the National Register of Historic Places. We went through that last time. And we moved toward basically 3 reuse options that we showed on screen, and I'll show in a little bit in the finished table here shortly. And those were, essentially do nothing. The second option would be city acquisition with sale to a private developer eventual. And the third would be city acquisition in collaboration with the Hibbing Housing and Redevelopment Authority to develop housing in place. So we'll go through those 3 options, and knowing that option 2 is mostly the one that we're focused on. I think the sheet 8 is somewhat helpful just to get everybody, I don't know how much you, had a chance to review the report, but this is a good overview. So you can see in red, there is what we're calling the A wing, and that comes from the drawings themselves. This area is a slab-on-grade, single-story. It's mostly used for the bakery right now. It has a steel roof, and that's kind of the original, but they were built almost hand-in-hand. And B wing, the blue wing that you see, is all reinforced concrete. So just thinking about what we're looking at here from a building asset. Up above, you've got single-story steel-framed roof. In the blue, you've got 2-story, more robust concrete frame. The dash lines are basically what's being used right now. So the red dash line, which is indicating almost the entire A-wing, is the bakery is really using a lot of that space. Primarily, they're using kind of the middle of that space for their main operations, but they do have some storage elsewhere. And then the green dashed area is only at the lower floor. That's where the child care is. So kind of a portion of B-wing. Both of them were built in 1958. And then there's just a little visual off to the right there. There is a 1981 single-story wood-framed, essentially a temporary construction, temporary added classrooms that are, less robust, if you will. So as you walk through the report, we basically categorized with site, foundation and structural systems. We divided exterior and interior with some observations there. There's building systems, responding a little bit to the questions last time about the mechanical systems. There's a more detailed summary of the historic designation assessment. So in more detail, why it is or isn't a good candidate for the National Register, with some history included there, and then getting into the options. And I'm going to go straight to the table just to summarize those options. So again, on the left, you have do nothing. In the middle, we have the one we're doing most of our talking about, which is city acquisition and sale to a private developer. And then on the right, just to kind of weigh that against
All right, so I just texted Kirk to let him know. Do you want to jump into the redevelopment district deferred loan update or talk about the revitalization grant instead, items 3 or 4?
Either or.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
While we're waiting to get them back in?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so how about I just give you the lay of the land of the redevelopment district deferred loan program update? So in your packet are a couple of items related to that. One of them is the, and I'll apologize, it's kind of small printing. It's, give me a second here. It must be part of the, okay, yep, it's at the end of your workshop agenda packet for some reason. So, what? No, it's just not in mine. Is it in yours? I passed this out. It is the parcel ID numbers
Yeah.
with the business name,
Yep, I
the
have that.
2023 EMV, the 2024 EM, okay, perfect. So if you look at that, these are the 5 projects that we've done so far in the downtown with our deferred loan. We've done Mirror Salon, updates to Mike's Pub, Sammy's Pizza, Rudy's, and Bender's. If you look at that, you can see that the 2023 estimated market value is the first column there, then the 2024 estimated market value, then the estimated or the projected 2025 EMV with the new construction captured in 2024 and the new construction captured in 2025. So the estimated market value increase average over all the projects, is almost $100,000. It's $97,960.
Do you know where we left off then? Were they seeing this table yet?
Probably like a slide before.
The percentage increase for estimated market value is 85%, and the new construction increase, when they take that into account, is 63.36%. So what that's showing us is the investments through the deferred loan program are making a difference in our downtown. You will notice that the very last line item there, the parcel ID is for vendors, and they did a roof.
On the
So
screen, it
that
looks like
roof
that's
was a
continued on.
significant expense for the business. The issue
Is she
being that
chatting?
that's not captured as new
No, I
estimated
have-
market
I have the
value
app.
for new construction, because the roof itself is merely, it doesn't detract from the market value as long as the roof is in good shape. It doesn't add to it, but it doesn't detract from it. So it would detract from the estimated market value if a roof is not in good shape or leaking in some fashion, right? So what this shows you then is the estimated market value will increase very slightly with a new roof on, as all of the other buildings do increase in the downtown as our market values go up. But what a new roof does is it just merely maintains the building and maintains a business in our downtown to keep our downtown vibrant. But that's one of the main reasons that this deferred loan program is in place, is because the business owner doesn't see a lot in reinvestment from putting a new roof on, other than it just maintains their building. So, we all know that there's significant value to maintaining your roof and maintaining your building and those sorts of things. But, if a business is looking at using that as a way to increase value before they sell, that's not necessarily going to be the best bang for their buck. So it's one of the reasons that we did do this program, and that we're investing in these real estate improvements, because over the long term, we'll see a more vibrant downtown with businesses that are able to be there and active and those sorts of things because of these improvements. Questions on this? We've so far deployed $108,000 of the city's, or the EDA's funds that we put into this pot, and the IRRR's as well, so it's a total of $216,000.
Can you hear
That has
please?
driven private investment of about $2.1 million. So that is a 10-to-1 return on investment for the public dollar. And you can see then how that's affecting the market values as well. So this program is doing exactly what we planned in this downtown to add to the vibrancy of these buildings. Any questions on that presentation? All right, so it looks like we have Kirk and Katie back, so we can let them jump back into their
They've
presentation.
logged in and they're the host.
Fabulous.
We've so far deployed $108,000.
I'm guessing they'll flip back to
of the
this
city's,
after
or
they
the
resolve
EDA's
the
funds that we put into this
agenda item.
fund, and the IRRR's as well, so a total of $216,000. That has driven private investment of about $2.1 million. So that is a 10-to-1 return on investment for the public dollar. And you can see then how that's affecting the market values as well. So this program is doing exactly.
Okay. Well, I will try go through what I've learned from Kirk and Katie in this particular presentation and just go from there. If we're going to keep losing them on the Zoom, maybe that's just, we can maybe have conversation and workshop instead. So you can see that the reuse options are there, page 19. This is do nothing. A private investor maybe buys it and does a redevelopment. The page 19, the middle column is city acquisition and sells to a private developer. There are some benefits to that we have control over the site redevelopment. The key for that right there is that it is zoned specifically for a bakery and a childcare right now. And those are the only two things that can go in there. So anything else that needs to go in there is gonna have to go through a rezoning process. We can help that happen if we're part of that that partnership. The property can become an equity transfer as well for any local housing developers as they look to move that forward. You know, with the city being able to work with a private developer that can maintain as part of their equity investment, they have different access to different funding sources. Couple of the risks is the unknown timeline of that property sale. I do have a couple of different developers that are interested in this project, and in walking forward with the city on this with a development agreement. So that is something that we'll consider, you know, as you move forward, if that's something you're interested in, seeing a development agreement and what that looks like and how we work together on that. It may require public funding sources that could be state or local. My work would be to go get other people's funding instead of additional EDA funding at this point. But all part of this is a conversation about that childcare that's located in there and those valuable 49 slots that we have. I have had some conversation with the childcare owners, and we're working to get a meeting set up with them to talk through what that looks like, because even any redevelopment of that site would require construction, and you know, how does a childcare operate in that building under a renovation or construction? So we have to have conversations with them about that as we move forward.
Did we ever get a appraisal on the property?
That's in play, or in process right now. We should have that for our December meeting.
Okay.
The employees plan on selling the building, correct?
Yes, and Paul will be here at some point today to have a little bit more conversation about that.
I guess my question is, with the child care facility there, if he sells the building, are they planning on staying in the building if we do nothing? Are they planning, what are their plans?
That's the risk, right? Whoever buys it has to work with the childcare to let them know if they will allow it or not. We, you know, if it's a private owner, there's nothing we can say about that.
So a private owner would have to come in and we'd have to, if he wants to do something with it, we'd have to rezone it, correct?
Right. Anything different than a bakery and a childcare, correct?
Which it probably would be.
Yeah. I mean, almost 100% of the uses would be a different, yeah. So Paul will be prepared to have some discussion with us at workshop. Right, but at workshop, not at this time because,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm going to talk through page 21 so we can move through this and then get on to our next item here.
Sure.
So page 21 then, you can see that obviously if we do nothing on this property and we don't step in the middle at all, there's zero cost to the city. The only cost to us is, you know, whatever happens with that childcare, you know, and that's not a, you know, hard cost, but it's a soft cost to the community, right? And we would have to consider that. In the middle section on that page 21 is there could be one-time costs. That's obviously the acquisition, and then the annual carrying costs are plus or minus. The consulting fees and things like that are added in there. The survey and hazmat report that we do need to do is roughly that $20,000. That acquisition cost that was based only on taxable value. We have to get the appraisal and move through that process like we always do. There's a little bit of roof stabilization that does need to be done that we have looked at there. They've estimated that. There's the plan development for the rezoning, et cetera, is about $1,000. We don't know about any relocation and things of what that childcare would look like. So I have a meeting set up with them to have a conversation. Property taxes, obviously, as a city, we wouldn't have those when we filed that waiver with the county, as long as it's used for public purpose. Insurance is plus or minus $300 a year. Utilities and garbage, if there's not a tenant there, then the garbage cost would be zero. There are ways to what they call mothball or look at, you know, preserving the building while not running the utilities. So those are things we need to talk about. Snow removal and lawn care, we can have that discussion. Security, we have had folks walk through the building and give us, they're looking at a potential estimate for that. And then potential of ongoing maintenance if, you know, something happens while, you know, if we're the owners and the childcare stays as a tenant, you know, there's a potential that they may have some needs as we go along. So we have to go in this eyes wide open. My preference would be to go eyes wide open with a development agreement to walk through that process. So next steps at this point are in this proposal. Well, one thing I will say is they did a test layout for conceptual housing conversion. That's page 22 and 23 it starts. And then page 24. It's roughly 25 units is what they came up with as you walk through that building. That could be in there. So that is helpful for potential developers to look at what could work, you know, in that building, so that they can kind of do some estimates and a pro forma around rents, et cetera. So every developer I've talked to has looked at that particular, you know, can I get the test fit for the layout for housing? And then the next steps then will be to finish that property appraisal, do that site survey, get the hazmat report back, et cetera. Assess the timeline and potential carrying costs during that time, and go through that rezoning, and work through that process. So questions on what we've figured out so far on the Jefferson School? There will be time to talk about this in workshop and a little bit more of this next steps proposal during workshop, but I wanted to give you an opportunity at this time during our public session to ask anything or voice any comments you might have at this time.
Yes, Betsy?
Yes.
The community space that's set up right now, that's basically where the Sunrise is?
Say that again?
On the I believe it's the first level. The
Okay,
community
yeah.
space that's designated, that's where the Sunrise Bakery.
The gym, the current gym is where their bakery is, yes.
Okay.
And then they use some of the cafeteria, et cetera. They have that set up as their commercial kitchen, yep. And then they have some storage in a couple other areas in that location. So the plan then is to recenter all of their bakery manufacturing in their First Avenue location. And we have approved a loan for them to do that. We did go after demolition funds through the IRRR, which were just approved. So now it's time to look at next steps and things as we move forward. All right, excellent. Well, if there aren't any other questions on that one, then we'll save everything else and the discussion of the next steps into workshop. And I will call up Miss Shelley Hansen from the Hibbing Chamber of Commerce, and we will talk through our redevelopment grant here that we're looking at doing. Oh, these, so to get started, these two items are two spreadsheets that we had put together. One is the sources of funding that the different folks, and it shows that private investment of 2.1 million into the 5 projects that are in the downtown at this time, and what kinds of improvements they did into their building. So that was the sheets I was hunting for earlier and couldn't find, but they are in your packet. So tonight then, I'll let Shelley talk a little bit about why the chamber is involved in this grant application, and then we'll go through the rest of the resolution here.
Great, thank you. Good evening. So the the Chamber is in the process of applying for an grant application to Minnesota DEED for the Minnesota Main Street Economic Revitalization Program. This is round 3 of 3 rounds. There's $4.68 million available in this fund, and it is to revitalize downtown communities. It's required that as a nonprofit that's involved with economic development to submit the application, so that's why the chamber is involved in this process as well. Is there anything
So you'll note that the Chamber and the EDA partnered together on a downtown survey in 2020.
In 2022, we put out a survey for the downtown First Avenue community to find out the pros and cons of doing business in the downtown community area. From that survey, we then moved forward to an assessment with AOA and found that 47% of our buildings within that corridor area were either substandard or in dilapidated conditions. From there, that is how the Downtown Revitalization Grant Program with Heda was developed from there. And from there, you have also put out, I would let you talk about how many funds have gone through that at this point.
Yeah, that's the $216,000 that we've deployed into the downtown with the $2.1 million of private investment into those projects.
And then, since then the Hibbing Chamber has also been one of 30 nationwide, one of 3 in the state of Minnesota to receive a pilot program called E3, which is the Equitable Entrepreneur Ecosystem. And from that, we work with Main Street America, which is a nationwide program that works with revitalizing historical downtowns, which Hibbing is. And from that, it has opened up other doors for us in communications with our businesses throughout the community, which is about 584 from the surveys that we took out. And from there, we found other, of course, opportunities that we could revitalize our downtown commercial buildings. So this funding here would then go into that fund to help further the work that's already been done.
So one notable thing about the application, we would use the deferred loan program that the EDA put together. The Finance Committee right now is the group that reviews those applications as they come in. We would add Shelley to that Finance Committee to review the ones that would be funded through this downtown program through DEED. And so what we would do then is they would still come through the Finance Committee and then presented to the EDA board. When the EDA board considers them, if you approve the application for a deferred loan through that program that is funded by DEED, the program would follow our standard protocol and process through finance for review and disbursement, review, award, and disbursement of funds. Exactly the process that we've been using up to this point is what would be used for this. One final note is that once the EDA board approves the disbursements and the invoices all come in, we would then submit an invoice to the chamber, who would submit those to DEED. The funds would come back to the chamber and they would remit the payment to the EDA.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution 24-11-XX. Is that the right one?
Yes. And I will have a number for that from Candy here when she gets back tomorrow. Perfect.
I'll support that resolution.
So we do have a motion made by Member Egan and supported by Mayor Hyduk to support this resolution. Is there any further discussion on
Madam
this?
President, if I may,
Betsy?
one note I will make is that Shelley and I have talked about dedicating the max grant size for each project is $750,000. Because the EDA is facilitating the 400 block redevelopment project, we would put one of those max grants towards the redevelopment of that block, because that's in the best interest of the EDA to get that project back up and running. So whoever happens to redevelop that block then would have that grant available for that building of whatever they build.
And that's a $750,000.
Yes, yep, that would be our intention.
Okay, we do have a motion, we do have a second. Is there any further discussion? Mayor, did you have something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, so,
Yeah.
kind of went out of order there.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine.
Board-
That was 2D. If I may, Madam Chair, maybe we will handle the rest of item number 2 under board reports out of order and then jump back to Cassie for item 1A.
Sure.
Is that
Yep.
amenable? Okay. So, item 2A is a subordination request from Park State Bank for AMGS. Park State Bank is getting a larger line of credit through the SBA. So the line of credit is through Park State Bank and guaranteed by the SBA. But what they require then is that we subordinate to the SBA as part of that process. So the letter is in your packet requesting that subordination.
Is this for operating capital or is?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve this subordination request from Park State Bank?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by member Kivela, supported by member Egan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. On to B.
Yep, item 2B we will handle in workshop. So I'm going to go to item 2C, which is to request authorization for the Heda president to sign the letter of support for the Hibbing Chambers Minnesota Deed Main Street Revitalization Grant application.
And we just discussed this, so.
I'll make a motion for that, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Mayor Hyduk,
I'll second that.
seconded by member Kivela. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. D.
Excellent. So item 1A then, Cassie.
All right. Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. I handed out an updated load balance schedule as of today for you all to review. Just a few things to note. We received the second payment on the judgment that was sent to RCD from Rock and Rollers. Both of Moxie's loans are past due for September, October, and November. Iron Range Management made a draw of $10,000. The total drawn to date is $91,182.09. Arrowhead Motorcycle Apparel owes for October and November for loan 250-11995. A certified letter was sent on November 6th. Per tracking, the letter has yet to be delivered due to the business being closed. The Heartland Center's loan started amortization. The Lee's Depot loan is now fully drawn and amortization will start in December. We have fund cash balances as of today between the three funds of $1,233,763.24. We have $121,680.69 still outstanding that people still need to submit project invoices for, giving a balance to lend of $1,112,082.55. Does anyone have any questions?
Madam President?
Betsy?
With Moxie being 3 months outstanding, would you like us to take some next steps on that?
And how far out is Moxie, 2 months?
3.
My opinion, yes. I think we should try to move forward with something there.
Is past practice that Andy sends a letter at this time, or have we already sent a certified letter?
I don't know that we have that one. I don't recall, Betsy, whether we've sent one on, I don't know that I have or not.
Okay.
But I have no problem drafting a letter.
Yes, I think that would be.
So they owe $2,600 bucks.
What is the traditional time frame that we do this? Is 3 months?
90 days, we consider.
Yeah.
90 days,
3 months.
okay, I thought, that's why I was asking, just to make sure.
Yep.
And I agree with Chair.
Yeah.
Right, and to your point, Member Kivela, it is a small outstanding amount at this point, so that's why I'd suggest this standard certified
Yes.
letter
Get
would
it
be a
done.
good next
Yeah,
step.
yep, absolutely.
The Arrowhead motorcycles are concerned being they don't even have a business anymore, so
Correct.
what do we have on them?
We can investigate that and get that back to you
Okay.
as well.
Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Cassie regarding our loans? Okay, thank you, Cassie.
Yes. Excellent, thanks, Cassie.
All right.
All right,
And I think we are
ready to adjourn then.
We are all set. We've covered just about everything, I believe. Yes. So we are at a point where we can adjourn.
I'll move for adjournment.
Second.
Motion made by member Kivela, supported by Member Egan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.